for another inbox review. Let's take a look at this MasterBox set. It's been sleeping in my stash since December 2015. The front illustration shows 4 German infantrymen milking a cow and, of course, drinking the milk. This is really something else. When I bought the set, I thought there should be another soldier taking pics of the scene. That's another reason why I like the idea of the Say Cheese Group build. I really don't want to say much about the box's sides. We saw that many times before. Here's something I must show you. I did it once before, so just in case you forgot it. Stay away from Google Translator if you want something important to be translated. I'll show you the back of the box later. It contains the instructions, the sprue map and the painting guide. There's still the impression of the very good ICM set I reviewed a week ago. Let's see how MasterBox do in this review. The first figure is a milk-drinking soldier. As you can see, the chap's body is nicely molded. Crisp details and folds on the uniform. The Y strap and the gas mask case strap look very good. All buckles are clearly visible. The seam lines are quite pronounced and there's even some flash. You'll see what that'll look like as soon as the figure is built. This is a wonderfully sculpted head. The face looks so real that it's almost unbelievable. The squares on my cutting mat are 1 by 1 centimeter. This shows what great work has been done here. The hair looks very nice too, and it's a typical soldier's haircut of the era. The seam lines aren't too bad. I've seen worse seam lines that even go across the face, so this isn't too much work. The legs and boots look nice too. The folds are realistic and the boots have the correct features. The seam lines are faint or pronounced depending on the area. Around the folds they are stronger visible than around the flat areas. I can't say that I like this, but on the other hand they've got to be removed anyway. Next to the faces, arms and hands are critical parts of the figure. Styrene figures have seam lines, that can't be helped. Removing them on fingers is one of the tasks I really don't like. Here we have to get rid of a lot of flesh on the arms. It's less intense on the fingers and that's not bad. The palms of the hands have almost no detail at all, but that doesn't matter because this figure is holding the mess kit in his left hand and the MP40 in his right hand. When you take a look at this, you can see that it's possible to sculpt real fingers in 1/35. Often enough you find 5 tiny sausages that should represent fingers, but they don't even look a bit like the real deal. The lower parts of the uniform jacket come in 3 pieces. I like this much better than the molded-on jackets we had to deal with on old figure sets. They demand more attention when gluing them into place, but the result is worth the effort. The accessories for this figure. The mess kit needs to be drilled out to look realistic. That's not really simple, but with the right drill bits and some patience it can be done. The canteen and the gas mask case look as nice as it can be done in styrene. The details are crisp and I think I won't do more detailing. And here we have the 98K. But the 98K doesn't belong to this figure. I'll show you this later in the instructions. I do this review partition-wise 1 by 1. The normal way of arranging all parts for one figure on a sprue is doing it in partitions. If it's done like that, you don't have to look at the instructions because everything's clear. Well, not this time. Anyway, the rifle is nicely detailed, but there's flash around the trigger. I don't know how often I saw this on mini-art sets before, and I wouldn't have expected to find this on a MasterBox set. The best way of removing it is using a small drill bit. If you use the hobby knife, you might cut off the trigger. Of course, you could also cut it off completely and rebuild it. That's up to you and me. Here we have the helmet. There's a screw gate position I don't like, but even worse are the two sinkholes. They're on all helmets of this set, so if you want to use them, they need filling and sanding. The entrenching tool with a dagger or bayonet looks the business. Here's the upper half of the mess kit, handle flipped open. We had the exact same mess kits when I was with the Bundeswehr more than 30 years ago, so I can tell you that this is a very nice rendition of the actual part. Of course you could thin it down a bit from the inside to get closer to scale. The ammo pouches for the 98K. They look better than those of the ICM kit I just reviewed. All accessories I talked about belong to this figure. He's the one who's standing on the cow's right hand side in the illustration. All I said about the body of the first figure goes for this one too. One thing I noticed is that there's more to remove than just the seam line. I wouldn't have seen it with the naked eye, but you find some loose styrene on the Y-strap. There's more of that on other parts, as you'll see in a couple of minutes. Usually I don't wash the sprues, but in this case I will. I hope to get rid of all those styrene bits. Again, a very nice head. The facial expression and details are superb. The Schiffchen is nicely done. The seam lines are more pronounced than on the previous figure and they'll need some extra care. Schiffchen and ears could easily be damaged, so please work carefully. On the rear of the Schiffchen there's some loose styrene again. I guess MasterBox have a problem with keeping their molds clean. The legs look very nice. I could actually repeat what I said about the legs of figure number 1. And now we come to this guy's hands. I don't want to talk much about seam lines and flash. You've got eyes of your own to see that. These are what really deserve the use of the word hands. There are nicely sculpted palms and fingers. On the back of the hands there are even tendons. Really, what more could you ask for? Again, the lower parts of the uniform jacket. Here we have potential reasons for fit issues. Dry fitting is necessary to make sure. You may have guessed that these accessories belong to the first figure. Here we have a tent pack and 2 hand grenades. The flash is annoying and I hope it can be removed without destroying any details. Please don't ask me to which figure this mess kit belongs. Surely not to this figure nor the previous one. Apart from that, it looks very nice and will be good to go after cleaning up. And here we see something I never found in a German figure set before. The gas mask cases stick inside their bags. I love it, although these are 2 identical parts. Usually you only get the gas mask cases. Nicely done, MasterBox. The MP40 looks okay, but not as good as those in the very old Tamir German infantry weapon set. It's hard to believe, but for me this Stone Age set is still reference for all newer sets. No need to repeat what I already said about the helmets. All haversacks are shaped differently to conform with the figures they're made for. While we can see 2 magazine pouches for the MP40 on the front box art, the kit contains just one of them. According to the instructions, the helmet has to be glued where the pouch should be. You can change it easily with a magazine pouch from his scrap box. Figure number 3 is the guy crouching next to the one who's milking the cow. All quiet on the western front. Only a little styrene residue. These sets and those of the ICM Kit German Patrol look very similar with regards to the quality of sculpting. If you want better ones, you'll have to spend money on some resin heads. Did you notice that bit of styrene? At first sight the legs look really nice. The folds are realistic and it's plain to see that the boots are stiffer than the trousers. The seam lines look like those we saw before. But here's something you'll have to fix. This part of the pocket is a bit off. Apparently the molds for the rest of the leg fit very well, so this must be a mistake of the sculpturer. Maybe it won't be visible because there'll be a rifle, but I'd rather do some unnecessary work than leaving it like that. I can't emphasize enough how much I like the hands in this set. Sculpting hands has come a very long way until you could find examples like these. I think hands and eyes are the most difficult things to paint on canvas. How much more difficult must it be not to only sculpt them, but to sculpt them in 1/35 or even smaller? No need to say that removing the seam lines must be done with the greatest care. I don't want to say much about the accessories. We saw all of them before. This time the stuff actually belongs to the figure right next to it. The rifle sparrow is slightly bent. I didn't notice it before I looked at this picture. There are two ways to handle this. You could try to rectify the barrel carefully with a capital C. You could try to place the rifle on the thighs in a way that blocks the view. Oh yes, and there's also a third way. You could just replace the rifle. And again, this part of the mask kit needs to be drilled out. There's one thing I like about the helmets. Since none of the figures is wearing a helmet, you can add the interior from scratch. They are completely hollow and you won't have to remove any styrene. Of course it would be much better if the interior was molded on, or in. Last human figure is the chap who's milking the cow. I don't know if you noticed it, but none of the figures has any medals. This is really good for the diode they'll be used for. Poland in 1939. War is still young and there weren't many opportunities to earn medals. I'm quite happy with it. The sunlight almost ruined the pic of this face. Fortunately I was able to use this one that I cut out of another picture. Again a fantastic face, but also these styrene bits that need to be removed. This time the seam lines are strongly visible, but they need to be taken care of anyway. There are detailed palms, although they won't be seen. These hands will hold the cow's teats. We'll come to that soon. This is some smart thing MasterBox did. Wait and see. A quick look at the accessories for this figure. Look how nicely this is molded, and the barrel is straight too. It wasn't visible on the previous pics, but here you can see how lovely the haversack is sculpted. And now let's take a closer look at the second sprue. Wait a minute, there's something missing. Yes, because I've already built one of the animals for another diorama. Claire the goat is finished and here she is. She'll be used for my D-Day +2 Dio Vedette is coming to town. There were some massive fit issues and I needed brutal force to make the parts fit. The result is nice in my opinion. She really looks like a goat and she was worth the effort. I'll show you only one of the cows in detail. The only real difference between them is the way they hold their heads. As you can see, the teats come in 4 parts for each cow. This is what I meant when I said MasterBox came up with a smart solution of how to build the cow and the milking soldier. If the teats were molded on the udder, it would be very difficult to place a soldier in a way he could grab the teats. Here you can glue them into his hands and then arrange the man and the cow properly. Here's the cow's head. I was really eager to see how MasterBox did the eyes. I guess most of us will agree that cows have beautiful eyes, and in my opinion they did a nice job here. Ears, horns and haircut. Since I built the goat that came in similar parts, I remember that this didn't want to fit and needed some filling and sanding. I hope that this won't happen with the cow I need. The second half of the cow. The seam line is faint in most areas. Only around the rear hoof it's a little more pronounced. Here's the neck. This is a critical part. A lot of dry fitting will be necessary to make sure for a proper alignment. This edge is really uneven and I can imagine that it won't fit too well the way it comes. It'll be crucial to spend some time and work on the neck before gluing it into place. The better the dry fitting, the less filling and sanding will be necessary. Isn't the tail the right part to finish the overview on the spruce? There isn't much of a seam line to remove, and maybe even the end will look nice after painting. And maybe I'll use something that looks more like hair than this. But now let's take a look at... There is nothing that I could do. The instructions show each figure from the front and from the back. The parts numbers are there and there shouldn't be any problems. All bodies, heads and limbs are arranged in a way that you shouldn't need the instructions. If you do, you should know that MasterBox don't have part numbers on the sprues. You'll have to refer to the sprue map and the instructions. In this case it may be important to use them because of the accessories and the figure they belong to. Says I'm still in love with my milk cow. What I really don't like is the painting guide. Not that there's only one brand mentioned, but there are also only the paint numbers. If you don't use Vallejo paints, you'll have to look up the colors' names to select the right ones from the brand you use. This is unnecessary work. I won't use anything else but Tamiya acrylics or Revell enamels. Maybe I'll use some life color paints too, but I won't buy the paints of only one brand that's mentioned in this sparse painting guide. Again, there's much more light than shadow. Most of the parts are nicely molded. Removing seam lines is a daily business of each modeler. A bit less flash would have been nice though. I can't say anything about the fit before I actually build the figures. Since they'll be used for my say cheese dyer, you won't have to wait too long before I can tell you if they were a nice build. Taking the goat into account, I can't deny that I expect fit issues on the cow. You'll see it soon. Get this bull from my door. Says I went out to my barn this morning. He didn't have one word to say. Says I went out to my barn this morning. He didn't have one word to say. He was laying down by my heifer's side.